In this video, we're going to look at the research around high altitude masks. I wanted to understand, do they actually work like true altitude training would work? Are they beneficial? Do they help with endurance training? Do they help with strength training? We're also going to look at safety concerns and how you can use them to get the most out of your training. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Maryke. I'm one of the physiotherapists from sportsinjuryphysio.com. We offer online physiotherapy assessment as well as treatment for any type of sports injury, all done via video call. Now, I realize that sounds a bit weird. I mean, how are you meant to be treating people if you can't touch them or be in the same room as them? But we explain in detail on our website why video calls work so well for the types of injuries we treat. So have a look at the description of this video. I'll put a link to our website if you want to know more about that. Okay, so let's first look at how true altitude training actually works. Now, when you're at sea level, there's a certain amount of oxygen in the air. And as you go higher above sea level, the oxygen concentration in the air actually decreases. So when you're at altitude, so 1,000 meters above sea level and much higher than that, there's much less oxygen available for the body. So even though your breathing is normal, you just can't get the same amount to your muscles. Now, the body is very clever. It adapts quite quickly to this, and it starts to produce more red blood cells, because red blood cells are the ones that carries the oxygen from the lungs to the muscles and other tissues where you need it. But it also changes other things in the body, that you're better at breathing and also extracting the oxygen in the first place. So then if you return to sea level, you now have a respiratory system that's much better at getting the oxygen at the air that already has so much oxygen there and transporting that to your tissues where you need it. And it has been shown to improve your aerobic endurance when you do sports that require that. But the effects are short-lived, and that's where high altitude training masks come in, and also how they're being promoted. They're being promoted as being able to recreate the altitude setting. But let's look at whether that's true. A high altitude mask is a mask that fits very specifically over your nose as well as your mouth, and you have to breathe through the mask. It usually has an adaptable valve that you can set to restrict how much air you can breathe in one breath, or how difficult it is to pull the air through it. And it can be adjusted from very easy to breathe to quite hard to breathe. Now, obviously, the appeal of this is because not everybody, even though the research shows that altitude training can work really well, not everybody can go live at altitude for long periods of time to help their training. It's really only professional athletes who can do that, and then it's quite expensive. So if altitude masks do work, they can be a really good alternative. The claims of the companies who create these masks is that because you're restricting the amount of air that's coming in through the mask, you're forcing the body to work harder, there's less oxygen coming in with each breath, and therefore you get the same adaptations as you would with altitude training. But let's see if the research actually supports this. If we look at the research around endurance training first, then it's a bit of a mixed bag. Some of the research studies showed that yes, it did actually improve endurance performance, while other studies showed that no, it didn't really have much of an effect. For the studies that showed that it did improve it, it was found that it was mostly because it strengthened the respiratory muscles. Because you had to work so much harder for each breath of air that you took, the muscles became much stronger, the diaphragm and the intercostal specifically, and so you could get more air into your lungs. There were also signs that the muscles themselves became better at actually absorbing the oxygen, so VO2 max went up a little bit. An important finding was that although the study showed that the masks could help improve the endurance performance, it wasn't because there were more red blood cells, which is how true altitude training really improves your performance. It was just because the muscles got better or stronger at breathing, and you were better able to absorb the oxygen at the muscle level, which improved your VO2 max. I should also say that the studies that showed improvement, yes, it was statistically significant improvements, but it was small. So in my mind, that means that I would first focus on optimizing all the aspects of training. So getting enough sleep, getting the right nutrition, having an optimal training plan, recovery plan, before I add masks in. Because if you don't have those tried and tested things that we know impact the body the most, then adding a mask in is not really going to make that much difference. And what about strength training or sprinting? Can altitude masks help with that? Well, the short answer is very likely not, and you may actually make your performance worse. And the reason for this is that when you do any type of action that needs a quick, fast, explosive action or a max effort and is done over a short period of time, you don't actually use your aerobic system. So you don't need oxygen for that. Your body has a different system for that. And if you're restricting your breathing while you're doing that type of thing, it just fatigues you more. So you can't actually train at the proper intensity you should to be able to improve explosive movements or sprint times or anything like that. So keep that in mind. If that is your main purpose of a session, it's definitely not the session to use an altitude mask in. If you do want to squeeze that little bit of last performance out of your endurance training, then there's a very specific way that you should train with the masks to ensure that you're getting the best benefits and you don't actually overdo things. Please also listen to the section after this, because there I discuss the safety concerns and things you should really not do and when you should actually speak to a doctor or what you should do if you start experiencing some weird symptoms with it. The advice that I'm going to share in this section is all based on how they used it in the research studies. And the two important things to think about is that you should not be using it for every single run you do, every time for the whole run. You should only use it for strategic sessions that I'll discuss in a minute, because otherwise you'll just actually mess up your performance on the whole. If we think of types of sessions you want to use it in the research, they used it for high intensity training, but not sprinting or strength training, because we've seen that doesn't work. Think more HIIT sessions on a stationary bike, not outside. You'll see in a minute why. Or for running, it'll be things like high interval sessions or tempo runs, any really hard sessions, but not for sprints. They used it 2 to 3 times a week, and they also only did it for about 6 to 8 week blocks at a time. So it's very similar to other types of training. It's not something you do all year round. You have very specific blocks where you have certain goals that you want to achieve, and you use it during those periods. One of the important things to understand is that you can't expect to hit a specific pace or intensity, heart rate when you're using the mask. The idea is more that you train at a sub-maximal level. So it's really hard, but you can sustain the effort for the full session, and it's not a full out session, and you're looking for good form throughout the session. As soon as your form starts going, it means that you're tired and you need to stop the training session. Usually these sessions started with really low resistance from the mask, that people get used to that, get strong in that, and then slowly increased how tight they made the valves. And that makes sense. If we think of the training effect being mostly around how your muscles improve their strength, it is in a way strength training that similar to what you would do with weights. And you wouldn't expect to immediately jump in with full heavy weights. So you have to start with really low resistance and then slowly make it more over time. Also so that you can check how your body reacts and if you're getting any bad side effects from it. As for recovery days, you're going to have to see how you react. These training sessions can be really hard and taxing on the body. So you might even want to start with just one session in a week first and see how long you need to react or recover afterwards. Because the other thing is, you do need to have quality, normal training sessions in your week to get the full adaptation from those that you need from your runs. So you're never going to use it on easy runs because you need that easy endurance training. And you can't use it for every single hard run because you're going to never really run at the pace that you should be running at those runs to get the full effort there either. So it's all about balance, not overusing the masks. If you want to see examples of masks, I found a few that were similar to the ones used in the research studies that's on Amazon, and I'll put links to those in the description of this video. The good news is that if you use the mask as it's intended for only short periods during training sessions, there aren't really any very serious side effects. I just want to point out again that you're not meant to be sleeping with this mask on. We do not know what the effect can be on your health if you restrict your oxygen flow throughout such a long period of time. And if we think of people with sleep apnea, which is a condition where they actually stop breathing while they're sleeping and constantly waking up. They don't even know they're waking up. They just wake up in the morning feeling absolutely knackered. They get really bad health side effects because of that. I get really, really ill if it goes untreated for a very long time. So please don't sleep with it. Use it as it's intended, because then it doesn't have major side effects usually. The main side effects you can expect is all things linked to the fact that you are getting less oxygen in. So it's possible to start hyperventilating a little bit and getting too much CO2 in your blood, carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, yes. And usually the side effects from that is that you can feel dizzy, you may feel nauseous, you may get headaches, and in some cases you may actually faint if it's a really hard training session, which is one of the reasons why you should not be cycling out in traffic when you've got one of those masks on, because it can be really, really dangerous. It's much better to do your sessions indoors on a stationary bike if you are going to do that. Same for running. I wouldn't be running in traffic or areas where there's cars if you're going to be running with that on. Best is at the track and having somebody there that's actually watching you, that if something happens, they can help. And the other thing is just listen to your body. If you start to feel unwell and you're getting tingling, or you're feeling woozy, or just really short of breath and uncomfortable, take the thing off and recover for a bit, and then you can train again if you want. But this is not one of those things where you can just push through the symptoms and ignore it, because your body will override you in the end. Anybody who has a chronic condition related to their heart or their lungs should really be speaking to a doctor before they use or consider using a mask like this. And possibly it's not the best thing for them. So if you've been diagnosed with high blood pressure, or you have any other type of heart condition, or asthma, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, I would speak to your doctor first before considering using this at all. The last group of people who need to be careful when using these masks are anybody who's prone to panic attacks or anxiety, because there are few things in life that can make you feel as anxious as a thing attached to your face that actually restricts how much air you get into your body. So if just the thought of using a mask like that already makes you feel really anxious, it's likely not the right thing for you. So please remember, if you're not already optimizing your training with the things that we know improves everybody's training, then likely a mask is not for you. But if you want to squeeze that little bit of extra out of the mask or out of your training, then it's worth considering a mask. Brilliant. Let me know if you've got any questions. If you've used one of these masks, I would love to hear your comments below this video. And let us know if you need any help with an injury. You're welcome to consult one of our team via video call. Link to the website is also in the description. Take care.